The sky fractures like broken glass as the Kurexath warship tears through subspace directly above New Shanghai, its obsidian hull absorbing, rather than reflecting sunlight, a void against the blue. The massive vessel, nearly 2 kilometers long, hovers in defiance of physics, casting an eclipse-like shadow over China's most populous city. Defense systems worldwide go offline simultaneously. Military satellites blink out. Nuclear deterrents fail. Fighter jets lose control and pilots are forced to eject as their aircraft spiral toward the ocean. On every screen across the planet, phones, computers, billboards, televisions, the same image appears, an insectoid figure with compound eyes and iridescent chitinous armor. When it speaks, the translation comes in perfect localized language for every viewer. We are the Kurexath, conquerors of 17 star systems. Your primitive defenses have been neutralized. You have 6 Earth hours to surrender your world or be eradicated. Choose representatives to negotiate the terms of your species' servitude. At Stanford University, Dr. Ileana Chen is pulled from her lecture on theoretical xenopsychology by black-suited security officers. Students whisper as she's escorted out, their phones displaying the alien ultimatum. "They're asking for you specifically, Doctor," the lead agent says once they're in the corridor. "That's impossible," Ileana replies, her heart racing despite her outward calm. "No one knows about my work outside academic circles. They provided your name, credentials, and genetic profile," the agent says, ushering her toward awaiting hypersonic transport. "The president is assembling a crisis team. We need to get you to Geneva." En route, Ileana studies the alien transmission on her tablet, focusing not on the words, but on the subtle mandible movements the translation AI missed. After 20 years studying theoretical alien communication patterns, she recognizes something that sends a chill down her spine. The Kurexath isn't threatening, it's posturing. Inside the emergency bunker beneath United Nations headquarters, chaos reigns. Military generals demand immediate launch of experimental weapon systems. Diplomats plead for peaceful surrender to save lives. Politicians broadcast desperate speeches to calm panicking populations. Ileana walks into the United Earth Council chamber unannounced, interrupting the cacophony. All eyes turn to the slight Asian woman in casual academic attire. "They've already scanned our weapons," she says, her voice cutting through the noise. "If they wanted us dead, we would be." She projects her analysis onto the main screen, highlighting subtle biological markers from the alien transmission. Notice the tertiary eye movements and mandible contractions. In most eusocial insectoid species, that indicates uncertainty, not aggression. "You can't possibly know that," General Hammond protests. "We've never encountered this species before. I've spent my career studying convergent evolution and theoretical xenopsychology," Ileana counters. "These patterns are consistent across all hierarchical hive species we've modeled. They're afraid of us." The room falls silent as world leaders process this information. "Their demand for surrender is a screening method," Ileana continues. "They've conquered 17 worlds that capitulated immediately, but they've never faced a species that wouldn't back down. That's why they targeted our weapons first. They're testing our response." The Secretary General steps forward. "What are you suggesting, Dr. Chen?" Ileana surveys the room. Humanity's most powerful leaders now looking to her for guidance in the most important moment in human history. "Give me 12 minutes with them, not 6 hours," she says with quiet confidence. "I've been preparing for this my entire life." She turns back to the alien image frozen on screen, studying its compound eyes. "They think they understand us. Let's show them how wrong they are." Supreme Commander Zach Swoon's personal shuttle slices through Earth's atmosphere, flanked by 4 autonomous defense drones. His exoskeleton guards had advised against this meeting, but the human's response, requesting face-to-face contact rather than begging for mercy, had triggered his scientific curiosity. Preliminary scans indicate high emotional variability in the gathering crowd, reports his second-in-command. "They should be exhibiting uniformity of terror. This is Anomalous. Perhaps their neural networks are primitive, Zach Swoon replies, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. The High Queens will be pleased to study their atypical brain chemistry before harvest. The shuttle descends into Central Park, now evacuated except for a small human delegation. Zach Swoon knows there are snipers hidden among the trees. His scanners detect them easily. But he feels no concern. His entire biology is weaponized. Poison sacs, razor-edged limbs, and the neural disruptor organ embedded in his forehead cap that could incapacitate every human within 50 meters. As the shuttle doors open, Zach Swoon emerges to his full 12-foot height, iridescent carapace gleaming in the sunlight. He towers over the small human female who steps forward from her delegation. Your species' defiance defies logic, his translator clicks. Our scans show your extinction is inevitable. 79% of your military capability has been neutralized. Why did you request this meeting instead of preparing surrender terms? Instead of cowering, the human, Dr. Chen, according to his intelligence, approaches with open hands and a facial expression his cultural database cannot interpret. Welcome to Earth, Commander Zach Swoon, she says. Would you like to try ice cream before you destroy us? His compound eyes dilate in confusion. This response exists in none of the conquest scenarios the Queens had implanted in his tactical cortex. Explain, he demands. I thought we might show you a few things about humanity before you make your final decision, she says, gesturing toward a path through the park. After all, you wouldn't want to report incomplete data to your Queens. Intrigued despite his programming, Zach Swoon follows. His guards maintain defensive positions as Dr. Chen leads him through a carefully orchestrated experience. Children laughing on a playground that wasn't evacuated, an elderly human playing a stringed instrument whose harmonics resonate oddly with his acoustic receptors, a holographic display of Earth's architectural achievements dissolving into its art masterpieces. Your species creates objects with no practical application, he observes, mandibles twitching as he studies a hologram of the Sistine Chapel ceiling. Beauty is practical to us, Dr. Chen replies. It helps us endure hardship. By sunset, Zach Swoon finds himself standing before the newly rebuilt Statue of Liberty, surrounded by a harbor bustling with boats and aircraft. His tactical systems calculate 17 different ways the humans could have attempted an assassination during the tour. They had not tried once. You've shown me your achievements, Zach Swoon says, but they are insignificant compared to Kurexath technology. Your resistance remains illogical. Dr. Chen turns to face him directly. Commander, your species has conquered 17 worlds that surrendered immediately. But what happens when you face one that has been preparing for apocalypse through its entire existence? One that turns extinction events into entertainment. She hands him a small crystalline data storage device. This contains 500 human disaster films, documentaries about our wars, and historical records of civilizations that tried to conquer others on our own planet. Study them before you decide our fate, she continues. You might find that threatening humans doesn't produce the results your models predict. As his shuttle rises back toward the mothership, Zach Swoon turns the data crystal in his manipulator appendage, experiencing an unfamiliar neural pattern his species had engineered out of their genetics generations ago. Doubt. Aboard the mothership, Zach Swoon paces his private chamber, chitin plates clicking nervously. The walls pulse with bioluminescent fluid, the physical manifestation of the hive mind network connecting all Kurexath. The room darkens as 5 holographic projections materialize. The High Queens, their elongated bodies partially visible in nutrient tanks on the distant homeworld. Your neural patterns show contamination, hisses Queen Xarvex, eldest of the 5. The humans have attempted manipulation. They behave contrary to all invasion models, Zach Swoon responds, projecting the day's observations into the shared consciousness. They showed me their culture instead of their weapons. Queen Morteth's antennae twitch with agitation. Irrelevant. 17 species have fallen before us. None of them behaved like humans, Zach Swoon counters, activating the data crystal Dr. Chen provided. Look at their entertainment media. Scenes from disaster films, apocalyptic scenarios, and alien invasion movies flood the neural network. The Queen's collective consciousness ripples with disturbance. For centuries, they've imagined their own extinction in countless scenarios. And always survive, Zaxxun continues. It's unsettling. The Queens exchange pheromone signals of distress. Deploy the deep assessment probes, they command. Harvest 10,000 humans for dissection. We must understand this psychological anomaly. Meanwhile, beneath the Antarctic ice shelf, Dr. Ileana Chen has assembled an unlikely team in a repurposed research station. The facility, originally built to study extremophile organisms, now serves as humanity's most secure command center, its location shielded from orbital scans by the planet's magnetic field lines. The aliens have been downloading our entire cultural database for the past 6 hours, reports Kodu Nwabodike, a teenage hacktivist who had breached 3 government firewalls by age 14. Her fingers dance across holographic interfaces as she tracks alien data collection. They're particularly obsessed with our disaster responses and apocalypse fiction. Lieutenant James Wong, dishonorably discharged from Special Forces for excessive creative interpretation of orders, studies 3D projections of the alien vessel. Look at these schematics we've assembled from orbital scans. Their ship design is perfectly symmetrical, almost pathologically so. He gestures to defensive structures. No redundancies, no adaptive systems. Everything follows precise mathematical patterns. Because they've never needed to adapt, Dr. Sasha Nazarian adds, her Russian accent thickening with excitement. The xenobiologist lost her family in the Moscow pandemic and has devoted her life to studying biological threats. I've analyzed the commander's movements from your meeting, Ileana. Their species shows signs of extreme evolutionary optimization. They've engineered out imperfection, including the capacity for improvisation. Ileana studies neural maps of the aliens' hive network projected across curved ice walls. See these decision pathways. Completely hierarchical. Remove the Queen's authority. Her finger traces a neural junction, and the entire command structure shatters. Sasha finishes, eyes widening. They've begun launching probes. Kodu interrupts, monitoring global defense networks. Targeting population centers. Patterns suggest they're planning abductions for study. Let them collect data, Ileana says calmly. But we choose what they see. She authorizes activation of Project Looking Glass, a classified satellite network designed after the previous incident in 2019. The system begins transmitting a carefully crafted documentary to the alien fleet, showing Earth's history of surviving catastrophes, but subtly altered. Each segment contains visual and auditory patterns designed to introduce tiny fractures into the Kurixath's consensus reality. This isn't propaganda, Ileana explains to her team. It's targeted psychological warfare against a species that has never experienced doubt. Above them, the alien mothership's lights flicker momentarily, the first sign that humanity's counterattack has begun. 3 days after first contact, Zaxxun's voice thunders across global communications. Your assessment period has concluded. Surrender now or face extinction at sunrise. In response, Ileana requests a final meeting aboard the alien flagship, alone and unarmed. The high-security shuttle ascends through Earth's atmosphere, carrying Ileana toward the massive mothership. Military generals had protested sending their chief negotiator without protection, but she had been adamant. They need to believe I'm harmless, she'd explained. That's our advantage. The Kurixath vessel engulfs her shuttle like a predator swallowing prey. Escorted by towering guards with gleaming carapaces, Ileana walks through corridors of pulsing organic material, the living technology of the hive mind. The council chamber resembles an organic cathedral, its walls throbbing with bioluminescent fluids. 5 queens hover as holographic projections, while hundreds of warrior-caste aliens click mandibles in rhythmic threat displays, from terraced observation levels. Zaxvoon stands apart, his posture communicating something only Ileana can interpret: uncertainty. "You've examined our planet for 72 hours, she begins, her voice carrying in the hushed chamber. "But you've missed the most important data." She activates a small device on her wrist. The chamber darkens as a holographic Earth appears, timeline markers spilling across its surface. The queens shift uneasily as their neural network interfaces with her presentation. Chicxulub impact, 95% of species extinct, Ileana narrates. The hologram shows a massive asteroid striking Earth. Humans didn't exist yet, but the mammals that survived evolved adaptability. The timeline advances. Black Death, 1/3 of Europe dead. Further, world wars, hundreds of millions dead. Further still, climate crisis, coastal cities drowned, billions displaced. With each catastrophe, the hologram shows humanity rebuilding, adapting, spreading. The Queen's holographic forms pulse with agitation. "Now," Ileana says softly, "let me show you something no other species has prepared for." The simulation shifts to show the Kurixath attack they've planned. Orbital bombardment of major cities. But instead of surrender, the simulation shows humans going underground, into mountains, beneath oceans. One particularly disturbing sequence shows human survivors deliberately infecting themselves with engineered viruses that make their bodies lethal to Kurixath biology upon consumption. Another shows children being trained from birth for generations to infiltrate alien settlements. "This isn't a threat," Ileana explains. "It's a projection based on our actual history. You won't just be fighting our weapons, you'll be fighting our entire evolutionary psychology." She looks directly at the queens. "We've already distributed self-replicating resistance protocols to every settlement on Earth and beyond. Even if you kill 99% of us today, you'll never sleep soundly again." Murmurs of untranslatable clicks spread through the chamber. One young warrior steps forward without permission, a previously unthinkable breach of Hive protocol. "How do we know this isn't deception?" it challenges. Ileana smiles. "Your deep assessment probes captured 10,000 humans for study over the past 3 days. Check their neurological patterns against my simulation. You'll find they instinctively know how to resist extinction. It's written in our DNA." Queen Sarvex's hologram flares with rage. "Enough manipulation. We will not be deterred by primitive psychological warfare." "This isn't warfare," Ileana counters calmly. "It's simply information you need before making your decision. 17 species surrendered immediately. We're showing you what happens when you threaten one that won't." Zaxvoon steps forward, mandibles twitching in the pattern Ileana now recognizes as deep thought. "You could have attempted to destroy our ship. Instead, you came alone to provide information." "Because unlike you," Ileana replies, "we don't believe extinction is the only option when meeting someone different." The chamber falls silent as the queens confer in private communication channels, their holographic forms flickering with unprecedented indecision. "Enough psychological manipulation," Queen Sarvex screeches, her holographic form expanding to dominate the chamber. "We will demonstrate our power. One targeted strike. Your Antarctic region. Uninhabited, but sufficient to prove our resolve." The other queens pulse in agreement, their collective consciousness temporarily restored through shared purpose. "You have 1 hour to witness our capability," Queen Morteth adds. "Then you will surrender or face planetary sterilization." Ileana is escorted back to her shuttle, Zaxvoon accompanying her in silence. At the airlock, the commander's mandibles twitch in the pattern she's come to recognize as internal conflict. "Your species confuses me," he admits quietly. "Why show us how to hurt you more effectively?" "Because understanding leads to better decisions," Ileana replies. "For both our species." Back on Earth, emergency protocols activate worldwide. Satellite feeds track the mothership's primary weapon charging, a concentrated stream of exotic particles designed to unravel atomic bonds at the quantum level. In the Antarctic Command Center, Dr. Raj Patel works frantically, blood vessels bursting in his eyes after 72 hours without sleep. Around him, a team of physicists monitors equipment cobbled together from quantum computing arrays and salvaged alien tech from previous classified crash retrievals. The countermeasure is at 67% stability, he reports as Ileana joins them via secure holographic link. We need at least 90 for reliable dispersal. You have 18 minutes, she responds calmly. The strike is coming. Global feeds broadcast the moment. A purple-white beam of unimaginable energy lancing down from orbit, beautiful in its terrible purpose. Billions watch, holding their breath. Then something impossible happens. The beam strikes what appears to be empty air 20 miles above the ice and splinters into thousands of fractured energy streams that harmlessly dissipate into the atmosphere, creating an aurora of unnatural colors visible worldwide. In the Antarctic facility, Raj collapses into his chair, blood trickling from his nose. The equipment around him sparks and smokes, circuits overloaded from the energy dispersal. It worked, he whispers hoarsely. The quantum mirror actually worked. On the mothership's command center, panicked chittering fills the air. Warriors and technicians scramble to explain the impossible. The primary weapon was redirected. The weapons master clicks frantically. They've employed a modified version of our own containment field technology. His compound eyes dilate in shock. This is technologically impossible for their species. The Queen's holographic forms flicker with rage and confusion. Explain this anomaly, they demand of Zach Swoon. The commander studies the readings carefully. They've adapted technology they could not possibly understand. Their development timeline suggests they shouldn't comprehend quantum manipulation for at least 300 more years. On the main communication screen, Ileana's face appears, calm despite the historic moment. We recovered a small scout ship that crashed in our ocean 90 years ago. Just enough technology to understand your basic principles. We've been preparing defenses against potential hostile contact ever since. She activates her wrist device, projecting not a weapon but a document that unfolds into complex diagrams. This is different from anything you've encountered in 17 conquests. Not surrender, not resistance, but alliance. The document expands to display technological exchange proposals, joint colony opportunities on worlds neither species could inhabit alone, and a defense pact against mutual threats. The command center grows utterly silent. How did you know we would need allies? Zach Swoon asks, his voice barely audible. Ileana's expression shifts to one of genuine compassion. Because your expansion pattern isn't typical of pure conquerors. You're running from something. And whatever terrifies a species as powerful as yours might require both our civilizations to survive. The Queen's holograms flicker as their consensus falters. For the first time in 10,000 years of Kurexath history, absolute unity dissolves into individual thought. The massive Kurexath hive connector, a biological quantum network linking all members of their species, experiences something unprecedented. Fragmentation. For 10,000 years, the Queens have maintained absolute consensus through neurochemical control. But the human revelation has introduced a concept previously unknown to their civilization: doubt. On the mothership bridge, neural fluid channels embedded in the walls begin pulsing erratically, reflecting the discord spreading through the fleet. Queen Sarvex's hologram flickers violently. The humans are an existential threat, she declares, her mandibles clicking in the threat pattern that has always ensured immediate compliance. Their unpredictability makes them too dangerous to exist. For the first time in Kurexath history, a commander disobeys a direct order. Zach Swoon's exoskeleton flushes with the blue bioluminescence of independent thought. We've misunderstood them completely, he counters. Their adaptability makes them valuable allies against the Void Eaters. The name of their ancient enemy, spoken aloud rather than through secure hive channels, sends shockwaves through the command center. Warriors freeze, processing information previously restricted to the highest castes. War Director Krellmore, His carapace, scarred from 17 conquest campaigns, draws his ceremonial blade. "Heresy," he screeches. "The Queen's will is absolute." A third of the bridge crew aligns behind him, their exoskeletons pulsing red with battle readiness. Another third moves to Zack Swoon's side, blue light rippling across their carapaces. The remaining third freeze in confusion, their hive conditioning failing against unprecedented choice. Across all 12 ships in the Kyrexath fleet, similar divisions erupt simultaneously. Weapons power up. Ship-to-ship targeting systems activate. On Earth, Ileana's team monitors the situation through hacked communication channels. "They're going to destroy each other," Lieutenant Wong reports grimly as alien warships begin targeting one another. Their fleet is fracturing into pro-human and anti-human factions. He doesn't bother hiding his satisfaction. Good riddance. "No," Ileana counters sharply, studying quantum fluctuations in the Hive network. "If the Queens reassert control, they'll sterilize Earth out of fear. If they destroy themselves, their dead ships will fall from orbit and cause nuclear winter. Humanity needs Zack Swoon's faction to prevail." Her team stares in disbelief as she outlines her plan. Sending boarding parties to alien vessels to fight alongside insectoid rebels they met just days earlier. "That's insane," Sasha whispers. "You want us to help the aliens who came to conquer us." "I want us to help the aliens who chose alliance over conquest," Ileana corrects. "Sometimes survival requires unlikely partnerships." 6 hours later, stealth shuttles developed from recovered alien technology deploy from hidden Earth facilities. Lieutenant Wong leads the Alpha Team, 20 Special Forces operators equipped with experimental weapons and neural translators. As they dock with Zack Swoon's vessel, Wong addresses his team. "Remember, people, shoot the red glowing bugs, not the blue ones. And try not to get eaten." The airlock opens to reveal a scene of chaos. Kyrexath warriors locked in brutal combat through living corridors. A wounded blue glowing soldier approaches, towering over the humans. The neural control center is 6 chambers inward. It clicks through its translator. "If we can sever the Queen's connection to the fleet, independent thought will spread." Wong checks his weapon, then nods to the alien. "Never thought I'd die fighting beside a giant bug." The Kyrexath turns multiple eye stalks toward him. "What about dying beside someone who chose freedom over obedience?" A moment of understanding passes between species. Wong grins and chambers around in his rifle. "I can live with that, or die with it. Let's move out." The unlikely allies advance through the living ship, human adaptability complementing Kyrexath's strength as they fight toward the neural hub that could determine both species' futures. The siege of the mothership lasts 3 brutal days. Human special forces fight alongside rebel Kyrexath through corridors that rearrange themselves against autonomous defense systems designed to counter any known battle strategy. What saves them is humanity's chaotic approach to warfare, unpredictable, adaptive, and utterly confusing to hive mind tactical systems. Deep in the vessel, Lieutenant Wong's squad has been reduced to 7 survivors. They defend a critical junction while Dr. Sasha Nazarian works frantically to understand the ship's biological components. The vessel is semi-sentient. She reports over the comlink, dodging a spray of corrosive fluid from a sealing duct. It recognizes protein signatures in Kyrexath exoskeletons to identify authorized controllers. Wong fires his railgun, the hypervelocity round punching through 3 loyalist warriors. "Fascinating biology lesson, Doc. How does that help us not die in the next 5 minutes?" "Because I can make the ship stop recognizing loyalist signatures as authorized," she replies, injecting the synthesized compound into what appears to be a neural ganglion in the wall. "Just need to recalibrate." The effect is immediate. The corridor's bioluminescence shifts from hostile red to neutral white. Ceiling-mounted defense organs retract. Wall-embedded weapons turn on the loyalist Kyrexath, who retreat in confusion. This pattern repeats across the ship as Sasha's formula spreads through the vessel's circulatory system. Section by section, The mothership rejects those still loyal to the queens. When the neural control center is finally secured, Wong stands beside Zack Spoon as the rebel commander severs the quantum link to the queens. Their holographic forms dissolve forever, their physical bodies light years away but their control broken. The cost is devastating. Thousands dead on both sides. 3 destroyers lost to space. But the rebel faction prevails, their newfound independence spreading like wildfire through the surviving fleet. 48 hours later, an unexpected scene unfolds in New Delhi's largest sports stadium, now converted to an emergency alien medical facility. Human doctors and veterinarians work desperately alongside Kurexath healers to save wounded aliens whose biology no human has studied before. Dr. Ileana Chen moves between makeshift operating tables, coordinating teams using improvised translation devices. Despite cultural and biological barriers, they establish basic medical protocols in hours rather than months. In a quiet moment between surgeries, Zack Spoon finds Ileana cataloging casualties. His carapace is cracked, one eye missing, but he moves with new purpose. "You save our wounded knowing we came to conquer you," he observes. "That's what humans do," she replies simply. "We fight viciously to survive, then help rebuild afterward. It's how we've gotten through our own wars." Zack Spoon's remaining eyes dilate in what she now recognizes as deep emotion. "There is something you must know." He projects star charts showing the galactic rim. The Kurexath expansion was never merely conquest. We flee the Void Eaters, entities that consume all organic matter and convert it to more of themselves. Our scientists project they will reach your system within 15 years. The hologram shows entire star systems going dark, a wave of extinction approaching inexorably. Our queens believed subjugation of all species was the only defense, uniformity and obedience under their control. One unified mind to resist the consuming void. Ileana studies the data, mind racing. But you think differently. The Void Eaters adapt to patterns. They've consumed 17 civilizations identical to each other under our control. His mandibles click in what she now recognizes as a smile. But humans are gloriously unpredictable. Your chaotic innovation may be the one thing they cannot counter. Ileana looks across the stadium where humans and aliens work together with improvised tools and techniques never imagined before this week. "Then we better get started," she says. "We have a lot to teach each other." 5 years after first contact, the joint human Kurexath headquarters on Europa's subsurface ocean bustles with activity. In a grand chamber where temperature and atmosphere shift between sections to accommodate both species biology, Dr. Ileana Chen, now bearing the scars of 3 subsequent first contact missions, finalizes the document that will define interspecies relations for generations. The First Contact Protocol. She explains to representatives from 27 human nations and 6 Kurexath broods, incorporates what we've learned at terrible cost. Holographic displays show encounters with 4 additional alien civilizations, some peaceful, others nearly catastrophic. Each mission had built upon the lessons of the Kurexath encounter, refining humanity's approach to the stars. The protocol's central tenets appear in multiple languages and chemical signifiers. Approach with curiosity, not conquest. Verify cultural understanding before making demands. Respect evolutionary psychology of the contacted species. Never threaten what you don't understand. The Kurexath approached Earth as conquerors and found unexpected allies instead. Zack Spoon addresses the assembly, his regenerated eye glowing with bioluminescent augmentation. Now 17 formerly subjugated species have joined our coalition, each contributing unique perspectives against the Void Eater threat. The assembly watches footage of the joint fleet's recent expansion. Human-designed ships with Kurexath quantum drives, crewed by mixed species. The defensive line established at the Galactic Rim incorporates technology from all 23 coalition species. Our strength lies in diversity, Ileana continues. The Void Eaters consume patterns, uniformity. Each unique evolutionary approach, each different problem-solving methodology, creates a barrier they cannot easily overcome. The vote to ratify the protocol is unanimous, a framework not for conquest or domination, but for mutual survival through difference. Later, in Europa's observation dome, Ileana and Zaxvoon share a quiet moment watching Jupiter's swirling clouds. They've developed a friendship that transcends their biological differences. She can read his subtle mandible movements as easily as human expressions. He understands her vocal intonations beyond mere words. 5 years ago, I came to eradicate your species, Zaxvoon reflects, his voice tinged with the harmonics of remorse. Now we build starships together. Turns out threatening us was the best mistake your people ever made, Ileana replies with a smile. An emergency alert interrupts their contemplation. A new quantum signature has been detected, massive, unknown, approaching coalition space. Analysis suggests a hive mind structure, but unlike anything we've encountered, reports Admiral Wong from the Tactical Center. They're not responding to standard greeting protocols. Zaxvoon's exoskeleton flushes with combat readiness. Perhaps they need a demonstration of our resolve. Ileana studies the readings, noting patterns that remind her of their own first encounter. No, she decides. They're not hostile. They're afraid. Their communication structure is defensive. She turns to her old friend with a knowing smile. Remember our first meeting? How terrified you were of us weird little mammals. I was not terrified. Zaxvoon clicks indignantly. I was strategically concerned. Of course you were. Ileana laughs, already drafting a new approach. Send them the signal. The signal, a quantum packet containing the protocol, shared experiences of peaceful contact, and an invitation rather than a demand, transmits toward the unknown fleet. Hours later, as the coalition fleet maintains defensive positions, a response arrives, tentative, curious, but open to dialogue. They're coming to meet us, Ileana announces to the command center. She glances at Zaxvoon, who now wears a ceremonial sash bearing Earth's symbol alongside his brood marking. Think they'll follow the protocol. Zaxvoon clicks his mandibles in what humans now recognize as laughter. If not, they'll learn what we learned. His compound eyes reflect Jupiter's eternal storm. Don't threaten what you don't understand, especially when it's human.